All right, well, let's go. We'll leave the link active, and we'll leave it up for anyone who wants to hear it. But so okay, first thing, where do I begin? Right, I was very shocked. I was confused. I got tagged in the post by a young lady named Taylor, and she was quite upset, and she was slightly celebrating basically, the response that you received from some comments that you made on Twitter. So I want to just give you a platform to like take us back like 2 days ago, what happened, and just explain like, I shared the screenshots in our Facebook group, and people were, some were quite disturbed by them. So I want to give you the opportunity to explain what happened, how did this discussion take place, and then, why you responded in the way that you did. And is what we saw as far as the screenshots and comments that sound pretty racially intense. What's your take on all this? Like, are you a racist?
Okay. Well, I'll start by answering that question. No, I'm not a racist or a sexist. A lot of people like to peg me that way because I have different views. But let me just go back from the beginning, because
please.
I've definitely did some things that weren't the smartest thing, but my intent, basically what happened was I don't even sign on to Twitter. I think I hadn't signed on for about a year, and I don't like Twitter. And I had gotten a message on Facebook from a friend of mine that said, "Hey, a bunch of social justice warriors are mobbing Amy." Who, not a great friend of mine, just someone who was on my Get Up and Code podcast at one point. And I know that one of my other friends, Chuck, that she's on one of his podcasts. And she's, I've known her to be a good person and someone who is really caring and really helpful in the development community. And he said, she's being attacked by this mob of people, again, the same people that I've seen, 5 times in the last couple of months, just attack people, try to destroy their careers, call up their employer, and all this stuff. And and so I said, really, what's going on? And he sent me the Twitter link of the thread. And Amy said something that I would not classify as something that deserved that kind of attack, right? I looked at her tweet, and she had said something along the lines of, I'm glad I'm not joining the programming committee in 2019, because there's a lot of people that are trying to preach diversity and inclusivity that are very angry and so something to that effect, right? It was probably even more mild than what I put it, but it's a valid opinion, and I have no problem with people disagreeing with her, but people were just really attacking her. It really was a mob attacking her. And what really probably made me decide to take some kind of action was when I saw a tweet on there that said, "It would be a shame if something happened to your job." And I thought, wow, that's kind of messed up. So I said, well, you know what? This is really what I thought. And I was a little bit wrong, but I thought I have nothing to lose, because they can attack me all they want, but I'm self-employed. I have my own income. I run my own companies. There's no boss. There's no one to tattle on to me. There's no way to get me fired. She's in a position where she's basically apologizing to them for something that she didn't even really was super wrong, and they're still attacking her. And she had apologized multiple times. And so I said, I'm going to jump in here, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to attack as many people that are attacking her as possible, and just try to stir up the hornet's nest as much as possible in order to get people to attack me instead and forget about her. And, a lot of people said, oh, are you trying to white knight in there? And no, it doesn't matter if this was a woman, a man, just anyone who was subjected to this that I considered to be a good person and someone that I knew, I would jump in and help them out. And I felt like I had nothing to lose by doing that. So
let me ask you a question.
So that's what I did.
I have Amy's first tweet, which basically steered the pot a little bit. She said, grateful I didn't start my programming journey in 2019. All these people pissed off, cussing, looking to start arguments in the name of empathy and diversity. You're literally scaring people from wanting to enter the industry by your behavior. I mean, if I see somebody write that on Twitter, I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, the thing is like, looking at that tweet, right? It may not seem inflammatory to you or to others, but it does almost cry like you guys are fussing about something that is not true. You know what I mean? And so it seems very insensitive in my book. Now, again, this may be different for you, and you may not think that it was anything, but it does. Looking to start arguments in the name of empathy and diversity, it is.
Well, okay, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I definitely have a different view on it, and I can understand where that would seem to be offensive to you, but at the same time, I guess there's two things. One is that I really do feel what she said is true, and I know that that's going to upset some people here, but I can tell you why. And the reason why is because, just look what happened. Look at what happens. Like, most of the people that were attacking, they were saying some nasty stuff to her, and they were calling her employer. They were trying to get her fired, right, for expressing an opinion, maybe not a popular opinion, but that's exactly what she said. Exactly is what happened. And the people that were doing that were the people that were supposedly telling everyone to be nice, and the ones that are promoting empathy and diversity. And that's a shame, because I'm all for. I don't know. Some people here know me well. I've been around for a long time. I've written. If you've read my books, if you watch my videos, you know me. I don't hide anything. I make a video every single day. It's really hard to hide who I am doing that. And I love to help people. I want to see as many people succeed in the industry. In fact, not only that, but I'm not trying to brag, but I'm financially independent. I don't even have to work anymore, right? I retired, effectively retired a few years ago. But the reason why I do what I do is because I want to help people. That's really my purpose. And so, I'm getting a little off track, but what I'm trying to say is that the way in which a lot of people that are saying that they're empathetic and that they're promoting diversity, the way that they're doing it, there is a lot of anger there. There is a lot of attacking there. And, I know I'm the kettle calling the pot, or whatever the term is now, but because I pretty much did that. I did it for a different reason.
She deleted her tweets, and she deleted all the tweets. So there's a few that was screenshotted, but a majority of what she was saying was kind of slightly hurtful to a minority or to anyone who has dealt with racism in the tech industry. Another thing she said, I'm looking at a screenshot here. She said, anger is valid, yes, but neurologically, it will alter your brain and damage it if not controlled and dealt with in a healthy way. To back up my heart for the community, I'd be happy to pay for someone to seek counseling if they'd like.
So I disagree with that statement, but for a different reason. That I don't want to go too sidetracked here, but I don't believe that anger is valid in any sense of it. In fact, I just did a video talking about this, and the reason why I don't believe that is because anger comes from an unmet expectation, and anger doesn't serve a purpose. Anger basically makes it so other people can control you. And now, from a physiological perspective, can you control your anger? Like it's an emotion? No, you can't. But you can let go of it and not hold on to it. It doesn't serve anyone well. So, that's why I would disagree with her statement there. But I think that the sentiment is pretty accurate, which is, being angry doesn't solve any problems. And I deal with a lot of men. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that I think ultimately no one wants to be angry, but one thing that we know is that there is a very there is an imbalance within the tech industry, and there is also outside of the tech industry and just our social livelihoods for minorities, there is racism still exists. So you can't heal, or you can't not be angry when it's still happening. You know what I mean? Like some people are still being prevented from having jobs, or prevented from career achievements, or prevented from being paid equally. So like, it's easy for someone who probably never dealt with that to say, hey, stop being angry about this, when there are actually folks out there who are still dealing with this. Like that's just like me being unequally paid with and I'm an engineer myself, but it's just like, the men on my engineering team being paid a lot more than me. And I know that this is wrong, and yes, I'm still being paid, but that's like somebody telling me like, hey, at least you got a job. It's you know what I mean? Like it's like,
I think, okay.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think a lot of the things that you're saying there, you're assuming that the premise is absolutely true. And I would disagree with a lot of those things. I don't think that there is
don't think racism
much racism today. And I can say this, I don't think that this makes it so bad. That the only reason why I could say this, but I experienced a lot of racism. I went to high school in Hawaii. I got beat up every single day because I was not, one of the accepted races in my high school. And, I'm not angry about that. Like, I understand what racism is, but I don't see a lot of it in the tech industry. I really don't. I know that there's some, of course, right? But for the majority part, and I don't really even see much sexism. I think that most people are actually trying to bend over backwards now to not look racist or sexist. And it's kind of a shame, because when we do that, I feel like what we're doing is, well, I'll give you an example, right? Here's a perfect example from what happened. Okay, again, I'm not trying to justify my actions. I said a bunch of nasty things.
Yeah,
I said already the reason.
I think you really need to open your eyes a little bit, because like, I've been in engineering for like 13 years. I've been a senior engineer for 9, and there is definitely sexism and racism that go on in our industry, and as well as in other industries. And just because you have never experienced it does not necessarily mean it does not happen. There's a lot of things that you experience in your life that I've never experienced, but I can't tell you it's not true. You know what I mean? Like, I can't say, oh no, you didn't go through that, just because I can't see from your point of view. And I think that is a big issue that we have with other cultures who just like brush us off, like brush minorities off, as if we're just being angry for absolutely no reason. It really happens. It really happens.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it happens as much as people would like to say, but let's say that it does. Let's say that it does, because I'm willing to accept that it could possibly. I just had a coaching client that I was working with, and this takes it completely to a different social realm. But his genetic race is Filipino. He was born in Australia, so he's Filipino by ethnicity or whatever. But he was born in Australia, and he was working in Abu Dhabi. Okay, now Abu Dhabi probably does have a pretty good amount of, there's probably a different culture there that would promote that even more. But he's a college professor there, and he was telling me how everyone was racist against him, and that's the reason why he was having trouble with the students and lost his job and all of these things. And my response to him was, I said, it doesn't matter, because even if that's the case, you should pretend like it's not the case. Why? Because it's not going to solve anything. You're not going to single-handedly change these people's minds. You should ignore the things that they're doing.
No, you should not.
And rise above it.
You should not ignore. Imagine if Martin Luther King would have ignored injustice and not being able to vote and not being able to use the same bathrooms that we clean every day. Like, you know, within this country, imagine if no one ever stood up, you know, for Black people in America and just brushed it off and said, oh, you know what? Oh, well, you know, I mean, you cannot think this way. Like, you cannot have this outlook. It's just hard for me to believe that you have this outlook. Like,
I get what you're saying, but the thing is, okay, so imagine, like, in a scenario, if I were in any kind of scenario, let's say I was consulting at a job site, and I saw someone treat someone who is Black or someone who is Asian or so, anyone, you know, poorly, or make some kind of, you know, racist remark to them, would I step in? Absolutely. Would I say something? Would I do something about it? Of course I would. But that's the actual action taking place. Now, as far as the laws go, as far as hiring goes, as far as the environment go, you know, from a legal standpoint, there is not institutional racism anymore in the United States. Now, there was absolutely what you said with Martin Luther King. Absolutely, I am 100% in support of Martin Luther King and what he did, and something needed to be done, because the laws were actually such that racism was built into the system, and that is absolutely historically true. But today, that's not the case. And yes, there are going to be people that are going to.
Yeah, there is definitely institutional racism that still exists, and you know, the killings of unarmed Black men is one great example of it. But let's just like move on. Let's move on. So okay, we probably won't agree on it, but it's just it's just fine. You know, it's just interesting, you know, hearing the perspective of like, just move on. You know what I mean? It's like you can't just move on when something continues to happen, and when you continue to experience something that is you know, life affecting, such as racism. And so, anyways, so there was a tweet that you had. Let me see. I'm sorry, it was not a tweet. It was on your Facebook page. Your Facebook page is extremely animated. Let me just let you know. I wanted to understand what you meant in your Facebook page when you talked about Christopher Columbus. Like, what was the get down with that? Like,
oh, you know what it was?
Were you like basically? Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so on Columbus Day, I had posted something about Columbus Day and how people are either, you know, about her or snowflakes or something about. I don't remember exactly what I said, but I don't like the idea of people not celebrating Columbus Day and renaming it and things like that, because I think it's just a silly thing. It's in my mind. Now I realize that plenty of people disagree, so I posted something like that, kind of a little bit in jest. I mean, this is my Facebook page, so it's, you know, it's mostly people that I know, and you know they know me. So I posted that, and you know, there was a little bit of ruckus on that thread, but it was kind of a funny, you know, haha thing. And then you know, I was in Maui running the marathon, and then the next day, you know, I was like, because some people got riled up about it, and I mean, mostly we're all just having fun on the page, but on the post, which you can see the post. But then the next day, you know, I posted another one in jest, like saying, I showed a picture of me, you know, sitting on a thing by the pool, and I said, I'm still celebrating Columbus Day, and you know, something about like Indigenous People Day, bunch of savages, you know, and again, you know, kind of in jest, you know, but not really like anything. I'm not trying to make a political statement in that case. It's just kind of teasing the people that got upset from the first post.
So,
and remember, this is my personal Facebook page.
I know, so, but I can go to your Facebook page and not be friends with you and see everything that you post on there. You're posting it public, and so
no. This is my Facebook profile.
I added you as a friend. No. Before you added me as a friend, I saw your posts. They're public. Your posts are not disguised. They're public. Your settings are open for anyone in the world to see that. And you have to know that you're a very, very popular web instructor. Like, a lot of people know you. And you have to know that you probably do have Native American students who follow you, who respect you. Like, come on, like, like
yeah, I get what you're saying. I don't even really consider like saying bunch of savages to be like. I mean, I'm a savage. Look at me. Look at my Facebook profile. I am, but oops, I lost my headphones. As I pull out my headphones. Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, I just consider it to just be a funny thing. I don't consider, I'm not, again, I know, it's hard to describe, but I don't have any animosity towards Native American. But what I don't like is that people, specifically celebrating Indigenous People Day instead of Columbus Day, renaming something that has some significance and meaning to it, just to appease people that are easily upset by things. That's my main message. It's not.
So you don't think the renaming of Columbus Day was justified?
No, I think it's silly. I think it's. I don't care. Like, I don't have any, I'm not a super fan of Columbus. I went to Barcelona and saw the statue. That was cool, but yeah, I'm not a super fan of Columbus. But I am a fan of not making a big deal of things and not being easily, I guess, for lack of a better term, triggered, because it's not a good way. Most people have good intent. Most people are just trying to get by, and they don't have mean thoughts in their head, and they're not racist. There's people that are. There are people.
No, I'm 100% with you on that. I'm one of those people who think that ultimately a person has good intentions, but there are people out there who do not, and that is the reality of the situation. Like, some people just aren't good. They just aren't good people, Yeah. But you also have, it just, from just hearing your responses, like, it seems like you're slightly void of feelings. Like you are. It seems like you have created this way of thinking that does not necessarily involve the rest of the world. It's kind of like your way or the highway. And the sad part about it is, like, some stuff that you say is offensive. That's just like if we keep making jokes or using words that gay people don't like we know they don't like that, and we may be conditioned to consistently use that word, from childhood all the way up. But now the thing is, you don't say those words now. You don't.
I do,
because it's offensive to them, and so
I yeah. I mean, I say it. I say retard. I don't care if other people are offended by the things that I say. The question is, what do I do? And that's the big problem that I have, I think, with this whole kind of cancel culture, social justice warrior culture, is that what we've done is we've now decided that what people say is more important than what they do, and what they do is way more important. Even if you might think that I am racist or sexist, based on my thoughts or the things that I say, I can anyone that knows me, would vouch for the fact that I'm going to treat you, respectfully and better than pretty much any other person will, that I know of, at least. And I've had gone out and had beers with the people whose political viewpoints are completely things that I am against, but we've had a good time and had good conversation, and I have nothing against them. I've hired people all over the world, and that are currently working for me. And I don't know. It's like, I just rather judge people by their actions rather than by their words or their thoughts, because it's really, what does someone do at the end of the day that matters.
Typically, when things come out of your mouth, it comes from your head. Most people aren't just talking out of air. You know what I mean? Like, it's coming from your inner peace or your inner whatever, that's typical. But okay. My next question, is it was about branding, and about your brand, and you've obviously spent a lot of time, creating this brand for yourself. You're, like I said, you're quite well known. The material that you have has been extremely helpful in the developer community. Do you care about your brand? Like having this perspective and this outlook on, like, I don't care if I offend someone, or I don't care what people think about it. Like, do you think that is effective in a brand? Because when I look at you, or when just knowing who you are, my first perspective is like you're in a position of leadership. Like you have a brand. Like, people know you for these specific things, as an author, as this and as that. And so, like, you don't care about, like, your brand and how you project your thoughts in, on social media or to other folks. Does that not matter to you?
So it matters to me for it to be genuine and authentic, right? And it's not like I've been hiding in the corner. It's not like I'm a Catholic priest who all of a sudden molested a boy. Like, you know what I'm saying? The reason I'm saying that is because I've always been what I am. I've never hid it, right? I've always put my thoughts out there. I've made YouTube videos almost every day for like 5 years, right? And even in my books, I've said, I have some controversial chapters in my book. I've expressed my, things that people disagree with, I could. Let me just give you an example, right? So after I tweeted the stuff, I could have just deleted those tweets, or I could have just said, because everyone's like, oh, did John's account get hacked? I could have said, yes, oh, my account got hacked, and I could have saved myself from all of the, this financially probably cost me a couple $100,000, right? Because I lost my Florence courses and my book. I'm not angry about that, by the way. I chose to step in and to do what I did, and that's what happened to it. But what I'm saying is that, it's more important for me to be genuine. Like, just take this conversation right now, right? I think I could come in here and I could be like, I could try to change the narrative and change the story and not tell you thoughts of mine that you wouldn't like or that your audience wouldn't like, right? But I'm not. I'm being honest with you, right? Because that's important. Because and you know what? At the end of this conversation, I'll probably have my perspective somewhat changed. Now, it's not going to drastically change, probably not. But this dialogue is important. We can't have this unless we're honest and open and non-judgmental, right? I mean, we can have a difference of opinion, and sometimes the difference of opinion is going to seem like this person is just so bad in what they're thinking, but we have to talk these things out and so it's the same thing with my brand. Now, what happened on Twitter? That was something that was stupid that I did. Okay, I will admit that. That's not in line with my brand. I was purposely trying to get people to attack me so they wouldn't attack Amy. It wasn't well thought out. It worked, but I
were trying to get people to attack you. Oh my God.
Yeah, that was my whole goal, and I've got screenshots of of Facebook conversations with where I said I'm going to go stir up the hornet's nest. I'm going to try to get people to attack me instead of Amy, and I literally just said inflammatory things in order to get people to attack me so they wouldn't attack her, and it worked. But it worked too well because I suffered major repercussions. Like I said, $200,000 worth of damages for that, and that's pretty painful. I'm not going to lie. But it also reflects on this whole thing. It's like, do I really deserve to suffer that kind of damages for what I did? I know that most people don't know the motive, and the motive still doesn't make it right to attack people. But it wasn't like I was attacking people that weren't attacking someone. But regardless, it was dumb. It wasn't smart, and it does not reflect my brand. And that was a big mistake in terms of branding, because, like I said at the beginning of this question, what I want my brand to be is, I don't want it to be fake. I don't want it to be politically correct. I want it to be, this is really who I am. I'm a human being. I make mistakes. I'm not perfect. My thinking is not perfect. But I'm genuinely out here trying to help people, and I'm not going to bow. I'm not going to cower. I'm not going to change my opinion just because people don't like it. I have to really be convinced to change my opinion, and maybe I could sell more books by taking out some of the things that people found offensive in my book. I've got a chapter in the Complete Software Developer Career Guide called Women in Tech, and there's so many 1-star reviews because, you know, I could have just pulled that chapter out, right? But I don't, because this is what I think, and this is important that it's out there. And I know that's a lot of people are going to disagree with me, and maybe everyone that listens to me talking right now will hate my guts, but you know, I'm not gonna hide. And I'll say one last thing about that, which is, and you know, anyone, you know, if anyone here is in San Diego wants to grab a beer, I'm happy to grab a beer with you. I'm happy to help you if I can help you. You know what I mean? This is my sincere, you know, this is me. So, you know, I'll take whatever people have to say about that. So.
Very interesting perspectives. Very, very interesting. So have you spoken with any of, like on Twitter and the dialogue that was going back and forth, have you spoken to any of the ones who, there's a lot of folks, see the thing is, like when you make comments like that and you make like inflammatory statements, like what you did, we've already discussed this, but you offend people. And so if offense doesn't steer you to want to do better, like that's scary. Is that, I mean, that you don't think that's like, you don't think that like, because I can just go and start offending people, you know what I mean? But ultimately everyone's going to hate me, you know?
You should see my YouTube channel. You should see the comment section of my YouTube channel. Okay, people, I get routinely death threats on the like ridiculous amounts of death threats on the comment section on my YouTube channel. Okay, and do you know who these come from? This is what's really interesting. Is I'm very much, I don't know if you're familiar with the term MGTOW, men going their own way.
Yeah.
But you are or not?
I'm absolutely very familiar with that. Yes.
Okay, so they're my biggest enemy in the world. I have made YouTube videos fighting against them. They're very unpopular. That's where I get most of my death threats, honestly. And those guys are relentless. If those guys saw me on the street, there'd be a problem. They would try to physically attack me. You know, if there's 3 of them, I guess. But my point is that that's my biggest enemy. These are the guys that should really be all of our enemies. They're self-proclaimed sexist, racist people. They want to take away the right for women to vote. Right? I've been fighting these guys on YouTube, not to my own benefit, believe me. And so the reason I'm saying that is because I'm not offended by the things that they say to me, because I choose not to be offended. And they say the most, I'm not even going to repeat the things they say, but you can look at my YouTube videos. You can search for MGTOW. If you search for MGTOW on YouTube, by the way, I'm not lying right now. If you search for MGTOW, 4 of my videos will be the top 4 videos that come up. That's because I've been fighting them for a long time. But if you look at those comments and you look at the things that they say, if I were offended, easily offended, I would just have to crawl into a hole and die, and I couldn't fight my battle anymore but I choose not to be. And I choose to have the philosophy that people have the choice to be offended or not. I don't let people control my emotions.
The thing with offense is like you can totally be offended by something and still live your life. Like I've been offended a lot of times in my life, but that's never stopped my career. It's never stopped me from, you know, from aspirations, from doing what I wanted to do. So it's you know, it's not like you know, something that is like detrimental. Like offense is like, it hurts. You know what I mean? It hurts, especially when it comes from an influencer who you respect and you didn't expect that from. You know what I mean? So like if it's just guys on YouTube just being jerks or just being assholes, like, you know, I can get what you're saying. Like you can probably let that bounce off. Like people act out. That's when I read the tweets that you put up, my first response was like, he's just acting like an ass on Twitter, because for some reason social media, you know, it makes people, like, it doesn't make you, but it gives you a platform to just be an idiot sometimes. And so that's one of the reasons why I wanted Mike to hit you up and ask if we can chat with you, because I was hoping that this was not really like you. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, I mean, clearly, it's not, right? I mean, I don't know. Maybe I would assume after talking to me, you can tell that clearly it's not. My sole purpose, like I said, was to attack people indiscriminately, to rile up the hornets so they would attack me instead of Amy. It was a bad plan. It was stupid. I will accept that. It wasn't very smart, but I did it, and it did work. And I suffered the consequences of it. And hopefully Amy is okay. You know, I even disavowed her because I didn't want her to people to think that I was associated with her. So I know it's not the brightest thing that I've done in my life, but you know, I was just trying to rile people up. You know, yeah. I wouldn't say those things unless I was specifically trying to be attacked. And you can look at my whole entire Twitter history. You can look at all the videos I've done on YouTube.
I looked at it, and I did not. I have in all of your social media, I did not see any of that at all. Like, this was the first time that I've seen, you know, this was the first time that I've seen any anything like negative, you know, you know, outside of, you know, what I saw on the Facebook. But that was like I mean, like I said, on social media, people typically act just like, they just say whatever sometimes. And so, but as an influencer, like, even folks inside of our group was just like, yo, like, wait a minute, like, this, I just bought this guy's course, like, and then Mike was like, wait a minute, I know him. Like, I was just like, oh my God.
Yeah, no, you know, so, I'm disappointed in myself that I didn't think about that kind of stuff. You know, that if I had been clear thinking, I probably wouldn't have done that, because I don't want to hurt any of you. I don't want to, you know, I want everyone to succeed and to do well. You know, what I really wanted to do was, like I said, draw the attacks to me, and I really wanted to stand up for once to what I felt was this mob mentality, that this cancel culture that's going on Twitter, and say, look, this is enough. But you know what? I can't win. I can't fight it. So I've kind of realized that now. So I'm just going to ignore it and just do what I'm doing, and just try and teach people and lift people up, and just let them do what they're doing, because, you know, that's, I guess that's the lesson here, because I don't see any way to fight it. I mean, look what they did. That's
basically what you've been doing for a while. And so to see this, you know, you know, being an influencer, you do have to kind of, you got to be a little bit sensitive, a little bit, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of people who read, listen, and support your material. And so if you're going to be out there in social media, and I'm almost certain that you know this, but being out there in social media, you got to be careful, you know.
I think where it makes sense, what you're saying, which I 100% agree with, is, and I thought this afterwards, I was like, you know what, I could have still got them attacking me if I didn't call people names, if I didn't call guys pussies, if I didn't say shut your mouth to women or whatever, you know, I didn't have to do that. What I could have just said, hey, you guys are bullying her, you know, and I could have talked about my political viewpoints, which would have made people plenty angry, without giving them some rope to hang me with, because I gave everyone the ropes that they hung with. I realized that, because I said things that could be interpreted as racist and sexist, and it's funny, because it wasn't meant to be. It wasn't meant to be that. It was just meant to I just wanted to piss people off. So
what about just, you know, what about creating a post and saying just that? Like, hey, I wasn't, you know, I think another thing is, like, because I've been banned on Facebook for saying things in groups. You know, I've been in Facebook jail several times for stating my opinion, but it wasn't offensive opinion. It was what Facebook thought was off limits for their platform. So I know what it's like to have an unfavorable opinion to someone on social media and be penalized for it. But at the same time, like, I usually go back and say, look, I've been banned off of Facebook. I've been in Facebook jail for 3 days now, and I didn't mean it like that, you know, or they, you know, Facebook was being insensitive. I basically came back to the platform, or back on social media, and I explained, you know, some way, shape, or form what I meant. You know, like, if I was, it's very, very seldom that I just, like, push offensive things up there. Like, when I'm when I'm talking on my Twitter, on my Instagram, or my Facebook, someone may get offended by it, and no, it's not my job to make sure that they're not offended by it. To a certain extent, I'm not an influencer in that manner, but I do try and be very careful because I am a mentor and I work with youth. So I do try and be careful. But at the same time, I do usually go back and be like, hey, I was banned or I was in Facebook jail for 3 days because Facebook thought, that what I said was bullying, or I at least try and explain my point so that the folks who were disappointed in me would at least know how I felt. And I think you left it very, very open-ended and didn't express that. And like I said, even the folks in the group were just a little disappointed as to the screenshots because there was really no context behind it. And some of the screenshots that I shared were like in the middle of the discussion and you guys had been arguing back and forth for like an hour or something.
Exactly,
So the context of what happened, it just looked bad. And so maybe what you can do is like, now people know, now even more people know who you are. But maybe it would help, just to go and say what you just said right there. Like, that wasn't my intentions. I felt my pal was being attacked and blah, 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 blah. Even though reading some of your statements on there seemed extremely racist and very insensitive. There are times where we put things on social media that we don't necessarily feel in real life. I do it sometimes. I talk about things that I don't necessarily do or say in public, but I do it on social media. And it just, I don't know, social media just allows you to do that for some reason. It gives you that platform. But maybe it would be nice, and I'm not telling you to be nice, but I'm saying maybe it would make sense.
I should be nice.
Maybe it would make sense to all these folks who have your name in their mouths right now. It would maybe make sense to post up something like tell everybody that you are the human that created those videos and those courses, and that you had your feelings and you're out of your feelings, and you like people, like you like Black people, you like Native Americans, you like Asians. Like maybe you can figure out a way to sound human to people and not like this narcissistic misogynist. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. You're right. I'm just thinking of brainstorming ways to make this better because again, like you're what I would call an influencer, and so the things that you have contributed to our developer community has been significant, and people looked up to you. But when they see parts of conversations that just look really, really bad, it's hard for you to forget about that, And so I think at this point, like, it just may make sense for you to make a statement and, to kind of clear the air, just like kind of how you came on here and you could have said no, like, I don't want to talk about it. You know what I mean? But you said yes to coming on, which I was quite shocked. But that's just my thought on what the next step is.
You're absolutely right. In fact, what I want to do is I was going to write a blog post this week that just explained what I was doing, and why I did it, and that it was dumb that I was trying to defend a friend, and like we said, because Twitter is not a really good place to, like, it's difficult, and I mean maybe a video is a better format because you can hear the tone of my voice and the sincerity on my face, instead of Twitter is just a very bad place to, like, social media in general is a bad place to try and have really discussions. Like we accomplish a lot more in this conversation here talking over the phone than we do if we're shooting tweets back and forth. I did post on Twitter and I did pin it to my account and say that well, I guess I didn't give the full explanation of why
I didn't see it. I mean, I usually go. I'm not like an active Twitter person. I kind of come on when I get those pings on my phone, but no, I didn't actually see it. But what did it say? What was the pin?
I said, this is what I said, and I guess it's not descriptive enough now that I'm reading it. I said, for those of you that think I randomly jumped on Twitter to attack Black women online, you might want to dig a little deeper. None of my tweets are deleted, but I can't say the same for those pushing to cancel me. of course, social justice isn't true justice, is it? So many accuse me of hate and bigotry, yet if you look at their responses, do you not see the same thing, only at a greater magnitude? This is the problem with tech industry today. So I guess I'm, yeah, it's not really explaining.
No, it's not. So, it's not. And then, you know, some people respond negatively when they're hurt. You know what I mean? When you make someone feel good, they will respond positively. But when you make someone hurt, they respond negative. That's just normal, you know, nature of a person.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well,
that's true.
Yeah.
I'll probably do a video or something. But the other thing, the reason why I didn't do it initially too, is because I also didn't want to tell people why I was doing what I was doing, because I didn't want them to then, for it to not work and for them to then go back and attack Amy.
Right.
So I am a little bit concerned that if I do that, then they'll say, oh, he was just doing this, and now to get revenge on him, let's go and attack her more. So I'm a little bit concerned. I mean, if people have to hate me, I'd rather people hate me than if I cause her harm by it. So I'll have to kind of think about it a little bit and see if,
because
I think that's going to happen. Yeah.
I don't know.
And I know, like, you wouldn't do something like that, but some of the people, but some of the people on Twitter that were, you know, they would like to do whatever they, you know, I got some pretty nasty, but I know I said some bad things, but I got a lot more back. I could definitely there was a point where I was like, oh my gosh, like someone was like, has anyone ever loved you in your life? They're like, I don't see how anyone could have ever loved you. And I was like, oh gosh, that kind of hurt.
I know, this is social media, and no one actually knows anyone. Like, unless they know you personally, like, social media, people don't really know you like that, you know? And so, like, you could be at a status where you might need a good PR person to, like, really coach you on how to deal with social media. Like, you know, I'm not there, but you are. And so, you know, maybe sometimes just don't read the comments, or don't read the replies. Like, you know what I mean? I think a lot of celebrities do that. Is like when they post up things and they know that they're getting ready to get a bunch of haters or just a bunch of opinions that they really don't care to pay attention to, or they're going to have a response to. A lot of them just don't even read the comments. You know what I mean? For the sake of their piece and not getting into it, and you know, disturbing their brand and all that stuff that comes along with, you know, how we respond in a situation. Like, maybe you're just at a level where you just really just need to make your statement, and not a racist statement or nothing inflammatory or hurtful to anyone, but make your statement and just don't read the comments, unless it's your private page where your friends and family are on, of course. But social media, you got a bunch of your students and people who respect you, and so that's all I'm saying is, like, even if you didn't mean it that way, a lot of people took it that way, and you know, hopefully you get an opportunity to, like, make that post and just kind of make it better, because, like I said, the material that you have is very valuable in our industry, and so
you have some wisdom there for sure. That's a very wise perspective. Yeah, in fact, usually my policy is not to read comments and stuff. I'm normally, social media is a one-way street for me. I just post stuff there, just put out, because I know. But I think someone just asked, and Chantel asked, like, why, what did this stem from? Was there a particular event that made you feel like this was the moment to stand up versus any other time? And I think I just had it because I had seen so many people being attacked, and I shouldn't have even been looking. But when I got a message directly from my friend saying that here's someone being attacked again and having their reputation and, you know, dragged over the coals, I kind of snapped. I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a stand now. So that's why it came to that. I was like, you know, who's going to stand up to these bullies? But yeah, it wasn't the right way to do it. So.
All right. Well, thank you. Really appreciate you taking your time out and chatting with us. And we're all going to be looking at you, looking for your Twitter posts. I think Mike is still listening too. Mike, really, really appreciate you making this this video and this chat happen. And thank you for replying to Michael in regard to getting in here with us and chatting with us. I'm going to leave this live, and I'm going to try and figure out how to get this into YouTube. At least people can hear the perspective from there as well. But yeah, thank you for your time. Any final anything that you want to chat about? real quick?
Just, I just thank you as well. I think like you are an excellent example of a person who, who is going to solve a lot of these, or is on the road to solving a lot of the issues, because you're willing to have an open dialogue, and to go back in it. There's a lot of people that aren't really, and it's it's sad. But no, I appreciate you, and appreciate the way that you handled this, and that you gave me the chance to say something rather than just completely just going based on what